Hey y'all, I'm still on my phone. I'm just using my Chromebook as a stand. So I'm going to start real quick and pray. If it cuts off, I offloaded as much stuff as I can. But anyway, and I'm not sure exactly where I was. So I'll just start somewhere close, I think. Forthwith, the campaign began. Tommy and Julius worked separately and together, but the result was the same. I remember reading this part, but I think this is close. Nobody answering to Tuppence's description had been seen in the vicinity, but they were baffled but not discouraged. Finally, they altered their tactics. Tuppence had certainly not remained long in the neighborhood of the moat house. That pointed to her having been overcome and carried away in a car. They renewed inquiries. Had anyone seen a car standing somewhere near the moat house that day? Again, they met with no success. Julius wired to town for his own car, and they scoured the neighborhood daily with unflagging zeal. A gray limousine on which they had set high hopes was traced to Harrogate and turned out to be the property of a highly respectable maiden lady. Each day saw them set out on a new quest. Julius was like a hound on the leash. He followed up the slenderest clue. Every car that had passed through the village on the fateful day was tracked down. He forced his way into country properties and submitted the owners of the motors to a searching cross-examination. His apologies were as thorough as his methods and seldom failed in disarming the indignation of his victims. But as day succeeded day, they were no nearer to discovering Tuppence's whereabouts. So well the abduction being planned that the girl seemed literally to have vanished into thin air. And another preoccupation was weighing on Tommy's mind. "Do you know how long we've been here?" he asked one morning as they sat facing each other at breakfast. "A week. We're no nearer to finding Tuppence, and next Sunday is the 29th. "Shucks," said Julius thoughtfully. "I'd almost forgotten about the 29th. I'd been thinking of nothing but Tuppence. So have I. At least I hadn't forgotten about the 29th, but it didn't seem to matter a damn in comparison to finding Tuppence. But today's the 23rd and time's getting short. If we're going to get hold of her at all, we must do it before the 29th. Her life won't be worth an hour's purchase afterwards. The hostage game will be played out by then. I'm beginning to feel that we've made a big mistake in the way we've set about this. We've wasted time and we're no forwarder." "I'm with you there. We've been a couple of mutts who'd bitten off a bigger bit than they can chew. I'm going to quit fooling right away." "What do you mean?" "I'll tell you. I'm going to do what we ought to have done a week ago. I'm going right back to London to put the case in the hands of your British police. We fancied ourselves as sleuths. Sleuths! It was a piece of damn foolishness. I'm through. I've had enough of it. Scotland Yard for me." "You're right," said Tommy slowly. "I wish to God we'd gone there right away. Better late than never. We've been like a couple of babes playing Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush. Now I'm going right along to Scotland Yard to ask them to take me by the hand and show me the way I should go. I guess the professional always scores over the amateur in the end. Are you coming along with me?" Tommy shook his head. "What's the good? One of us is enough. I might as well stay here and nose around a bit longer. Something might turn up. One never knows." "Sure thing. Well, so long. I'll be back in a couple of shakes with a few inspectors along. I shall tell them to pick out their biggest and best." But the course of events was not to follow the plan Julius had laid down. Later in the day, Tommy received a wire. "Join me. Manchester Midland Hotel. Important news. Julius." At 7:30 that night, Tommy alighted from a slow cross-country train. Julius was on the platform. "Thought you'd come by this train if you weren't out when my wire arrived." Tommy grasped him by the arm. "What is it? Is Tuppence found?" Julius shook his head. "No, but I found this waiting in London. Just arrived." He handed the telegram form to the other. Tommy's eyes opened as he read, "Jane Finn found. Come. Manchester Midland Hotel immediately. Peel, Edgerton." Julius took the form back and folded it up. "Queer," he said thoughtfully. "I thought that lawyer chap had quit." And that's all of chapter 18, but I'm going to go on to 19, called Jane Finn. I feel like I'm rushing to read to get in here. "My train just got in half an hour ago," explained Julius as he led the way out of the station. "I reckoned you'd come by this before I left London and wired accordingly to Sir James. He's booked rooms for us and will be round to dine at 8. What made you think he'd cease to take any interest in the case?" asked Tommy curiously. "What he said," replied Julius dryly. "The old bird's as close as an oyster. Like all the darned lot of them, he wasn't going to commit himself till he was sure he could deliver the goods." "I wonder," said Tommy thoughtfully. Julius turned on him. "You wonder what?" "Whether that was his real reason." "Sure, you bet your life it was." Tommy shook